I play a lot of different games with the First Impressions series, and not all of the games that I play are things that make it to the finish line. I don't do Let's Play series about every game that I play, because quite frankly, a lot of the games that I do First Impressions of just aren't that good, or they aren't things that capture my attention. That's probably a better way to put it. But in this case, the Lamplighters League, if you're not playing this game, you need to get on it. This is sort of like a sleeper hit for me because I really wasn't aware of this game until about 2 months ago. In the middle of just doing Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield and Cyberpunk 2077 and all the prep for the things that were coming out, I caught wind of this because I saw it was an upcoming title on Game Pass, and I went, "What's this?" And I watched the trailer, and I went, "Oh, this looks really cool. Like, this art style is kind of fun and quirky and takes me back to like some of the Lucasfilms games, like, or the Sierra games of like the 90s, even though it's not quite that retro. But that's the spirit it invoked in me. It was those old point-and-click adventure games, even though it's not a point-and-click adventure game. Let's get out of the way right up front. I have streamed this a couple of times. I'll probably stream it once a week or so until I'm finished with the Let's Play series, but I am doing an entire playthrough of this, and I wanted to just drop my early thoughts here because it was good enough that it grabbed my attention, and I kind of want to just talk about the things that I think are really cool about this game that inspired me to want to try it. And if you've got Game Pass, I would highly recommend adding this to your repertoire because it's super fun. I think we're actually coming to the end of the loop here, and it's going to cycle through again. We're just going to leave this playing in the background because it's got good music and fun visuals. So, Lamplighters League, what is it? It is a turn-based game. It's a strategy turn-based game. So, if you're not a fan of turn-based, here's what I would say to this. I was not a fan of turn-based until I played like Solasta and then got into Baldur's Gate 3. And I loved the first two Baldur's Gate games, but those were pause-based, and I've always preferred the pause-based. But Baldur's Gate 3 convinced me that perhaps my prejudice against turn-based games wasn't warranted, and that I should give more games a shot if I was just willing to get over that hump of not liking the combat style. It's a little different than like the Dark Souls games, which I just don't play because I genuinely don't like to play hardcore games like that. But turn-based wasn't something that's like hardcore. It's just a style as opposed to difficulty, if that makes sense. So I went into this because I liked the art style and I liked the story and everything that was being presented, even though it was I knew going into it that it was turn-based. So you don't actually create your own character. There are some pre-designed characters that you take control of. These are the agents that you're going to be playing in the game. Now, I'm only, I think, like 7 or 8 missions in at this point, so I'm probably 10 hours into the game maybe. And so far, I've controlled up to 4 people during one given mission. The average has been like 3 people, but there has been one major mission I did where I controlled 4 agents. And you start off with, some standard agents, but then you can recruit other agents as you go throughout the game. And as you get deeper into this, it unlocks not just your main missions, but also side missions. So if you want to go a whole hog and do like a completionist journey where you're going out there and doing all these side missions to get the crafting supplies to make all of the different armor pieces that you can make and consumables and everything else like grenades and potions and all those things. If you want to whole hog it, you can. All those side missions are there. But otherwise, it presents these missions in a format that is very straightforward, where it's just like, here's a quick story on this. Log in. You're in the mission map now, and then it's just grid-based from that point out. There's the exploration point, the exploration component, I should say, which you can do without the turn-based, so you can run around and explore corners of the map, but invariably you're going to be drawn into combat at some point. You cannot just simply stealth your way through an area. You're always going to end up getting in combat at some point or another, unless you're like insanely good and are doing tons of, scum saves and scum loads. I just don't see that sneaking through missions entirely is going to be an option. But they do give you multiple ways around different objectives. So some areas you might need a sneak to climb up over a wall. You might need a bruiser to break through a wall. There's different things to do. But since you're not creating your own character, you have to play one of the classes that's presented, which is Saboteur, Bruiser, and Sneak. There may be more, but I think those are the agent ones that I've had so far. And then you get some hybrid ones like Anna, who's the healer. She's like a combat medic, but she's like a saboteur with some other stuff that she can do other things. And there are skill trees, so once you have your characters and you're playing them through the game, you can sort of customize them within what they do. So if one character is a saboteur, you can choose how your saboteur works, which may be different than the way I play my saboteur. The way that you play your Sneak, this character right here, it might be different than the way I play mine. And the way that you play Ingrid, the Bruiser, might be different than the way I play my Bruiser. Because they do have the various trait trees that you can spend your points down, the attribute trees that you can spend. So there is that element of leveling up and progressing your character in a way that you want to progress it, as opposed to being locked into only doing one thing. But this is not a super complex RPG where you've got 25 classes to choose from and 6 races and all that. No, it's just you start the game, you're in control of the agents, and you can recruit more agents to the cause, and you go from there. Now, what initially drew me to this was the setting, 1930s. Sort of like steampunk mixed with Indiana Jones, mixed with like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And essentially the storyline here is that you have been recruited by this mysterious man who's part of the old Lamplighters League, and he is against the Court of the Banished, which are these other characters who are seeking to access this tower. I should actually move my controller. The Tower at the End of the World is the subtitle for the game. And essentially what you're doing is you're working your way towards... everybody's racing to get access to the tower. It hasn't been seen on our planet for like 6,000 years. And it's this portal that allows you to do interdimensional stuff, and there's power behind it that's like magic, and the bad guys are controlling bits of the magic, and your contractor, your employer, wants you to beat the bad guys to the punch and get control of the tower so that they can't. So it's sort of a save the world thing. Now, I haven't gotten that deep into the game yet, so that's my early thoughts. The one thing I can say, I'll load in now that we're kind of past this. Let me move Streamlabs over to the other side here. Because we are sitting here at the loading screen, and I can actually take you in and go to continue. I'm playing on the Xbox Series X. I have noticed there are some performance issues, which is surprising for a game that has graphic fidelity this low. It's a Unity game, so I don't know if they just didn't optimize it or if it's Unity issues, but I'm sure you saw some stutter when we were loading that load screen, going from the animation sequence to the actual continue screen. There's some hitching there, and every time you start a mission, there's some hitching, and I'll show you what I mean by that here in a minute. But let's get into the game here. When you're in the game, you're presented with this right here, and I'm not going to spoil any of the story stuff here right now, so when you have an exclamation point, you can go through and you talk to all these. It's all voiced, so you get some... and going through and talking to everybody is highly recommended if you want the story of the game. Just go talk to everybody, because there's some really good voice acting, some really good writing, and a really cool story here. Because the first few missions you start off, you might just think that it's just, a 1930s setting, but the deeper you get into it, the more you realize, oh no, there's like supernatural elements at play, and yeah, there's a lot going on here. But there's a world map. This is the thing I wanted to talk about. And on the world map, on the top, you're going to see these 3 circles. Each one of those represents one of the enemy factions. And it's hard to see right now, but essentially each one of these has like if you could imagine 12 points on a clock. So that's noon or whatever, and then it's going to go around in a clockwise fashion. I might be doing this backwards. It would be this way. It would be clockwise for you guys, right? I think that would be clockwise for you. Anyway, starting at the top, going around, and the bars fill up with threat. And I guess if you let one of those fill up all the way to the top, to midnight, they will get access to the tower, and you're screwed. So I don't know if that means you're screwed and the game is over. It suggests that. So the balance here, if you want to go whole hog into a completionist journey, is balancing the main missions with these side quests like this right here, which is, this is going to get me supplies, but it's also going to eliminate threat against, which one of the factions? So you notice Nicastro at the top, when I click on that mission, the threat meter goes back to 0. That's because that mission will reduce the threat from them. But the thing is all of these are on like timers, so it's each week. We're in week 7 right now. You'll notice at the bottom over here it says week 7. So each time you choose a mission, you're passing a week of time, and so you only get to do like you have to choose a mission. That's it. You get to choose one mission, and then there might be a research project. So you're not going to be able to do everything perfectly the first time. You're going to have to play this game through multiple times if you want to see all the different scenarios. But there is a timer counting down. Essentially, I don't think there's a time limit per se, as there's only so many weeks, but you do have to balance main missions and side missions against the timers that are going against each one of these other factions to make sure that you beat them to the tower. So I'm going to see how that plays out overall. But the story is really, really good. So far I've got 4 or 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 heroes, 4 agents. I've got a 5th I can go recruit, who I haven't recruited yet. I think that's probably one of the next missions I'm going to do. And each one of these, if you'll notice, like down on the bottom, they've got like slots that you can fill out. I haven't unlocked the other slot, but essentially it's like pocket slots, ring slot, an armor slot, and like weapon mods. And then we have this thing called the Undrawn Hand, which are like these tarot cards which add additional abilities to your character. And then there's the straight up skill trees that I was talking about. So like Ingrid is a melee character, Latif is a stealth character like pistol. Excuse me. Eddie is a dual wielding saboteur who's all about DPS, and then Anna Sophia is a saboteur who's also a healer. She's a combat medic. So and you get to choose how you want to spec these characters, or you can max them all out if you want to do side missions and try to get all the points in the game. But there's also, if you go in here, there's like crafting, which I've barely got into so far, and I haven't recruited there's more people to recruit who I haven't recruited yet who do additional crafting for like healing mats and stuff. This guy just does like weapon mods and stuff, and so I'm barely getting into what he offers. And then there's the things you can buy for your character. So at the start of each mission, you can have like your agents have these slots, and if they're not full, like she has, yeah, they're all full right now. Other than like, well, their pocket items are full, but like over here we could go to like here she has no accessories, no armor that's available, no weapon mods, and to get those I would need to go into the supplier and like buy things, which requires supply points, which you get during missions. And so there's a whole bunch of complexity going on here. So in essence, it is a turn-based CRPG or slash strategy game where you've got 3 characters that you're controlling on a map, sometimes 4 characters. I've not seen it go beyond 4. If it goes beyond 4, cool. I hope it does. 6 people are my favorite. By the way, Rogue Trader looks like it goes up to 6. I haven't confirmed that yet, but I've been playing that last couple of days. I love 6-person parties. So you get 3 people, and you can do missions in a variety of different ways, and they're fairly quick. Like the missions take, 30 minutes maybe to an hour. I have not seen any take longer than an hour. But one of the things I wanted to talk about really quick, I've got a hard save here, so this shouldn't do anything. The performance issue that I was talking about here is if I decide to go to like, let's assign, quick commercial break, everyone, to give a shout out to our first official guild officer, Bubalonia, as well as all of the guild champions, and of course, all of the members who help keep me on the air full time. To join as a member, simply click that join button below and pick your tier, but you can also support with Super Chats on any live stream or premiere, or Super Thanks on any upload or YouTube short. Don't forget the Discord. Let's get back to the video. Latif to this. And then let's go personnel search. Or where's the one where I can recruit? Nope. Hang on, what is this? Defeating a sign on a mission will grant the following rewards, so that's an option if I want to do that. Steel Court Intelligence, or recruit the healer. So I have a bunch of options for types of missions I could do here. I could go kill a scion, I could recruit the healer, or send my guys out to look for another recruitment. So if I wanted to do this, I would assign my agents. And once I pick the agents that I want, I would click Start Mission. And this is the first thing you're going to see. This is the optimization stuff I'm talking about. This is going to hitch behind me when it loads. Just watch like the propellers on the plane as things load. it'll freeze up and hitch a little bit as it's loading. Yep, there it goes. So that's a performance thing that I haven't seen get worked out yet, and there are some slight performance issues if you try to play on. I'm on. Let's see here. I think I'm on the performance mode. I put it on quality mode in the Xbox, and I got like hitching during some of the major fight sequences, which suggests that the optimization is not the greatest, because there shouldn't be any hitching with a graphic style that looks like this, on the Xbox Series X. So I'm just going to deploy for a minute so that you can see what this looks like. It's all voiced, which is awesome. From here, you can control the characters, switch between the characters. They have all these different things they can do. You can run around, cause noise. You can get up behind things and hide. Well, I'd have to get down to hide. He could pick locks and stuff, so he's going to pick this lock. Everybody's going to hunker down while he does it. So there's a lot going on here, but it's not like overwhelmingly a lot. It's not like Baldur's Gate 3 where it's like, oh my God, there's, so much to do. So there are things like this where you run around. These missions, you can look out over here. They're laid out in a very grid-like format, but there is height maps. You do have to worry about the height and everything else. And then there's like explodable things, and you can use the environment like grease and water and electrify things and set it on fire. And height gives you an advantage on attacks and everything else. So you can, we can look at these places are reasonably sized. Like I said, 30 minutes I think is about the average for most missions. I've had a couple that have gone longer, but that's just because it's me figuring the zones out and running around. But they're not massive maps. They're fairly standard and easy to get through. So I mean, for me, I think that it's been a pretty cool game so far. I don't really have a lot to say negative about it other than the performance issues, which, that's a little thing. It's a minor thing. There's not been any game-breaking things. It has crashed a couple of times in the Xbox, and I've had to reload from there. But for the most part, it's been a very seamless. I'd give it probably a 8.5 out of 10. Honestly, it's really good. There are, and you have to understand the scope and scale are things here. So don't try to compare this to anything else, because it's its own thing. But it is very light on, like, even though there are some variations to how you get through the missions, it's still a fairly standard, straightforward. You have to get from point A to point B. How you get from point A to point B is going to vary depending on your class, on the class makeups of your agents and the skills that you've taken and the way that you choose to play the levels, right? But it's always going to be point A to point B. You're not going to have like the 15,000 variants of Baldur's Gate 3, and you're not going to have necessarily all of the verticality that you'll see in a game like Solasta, where you can fly and climb on the walls and all that other stuff. But there is a lot going on here, and I think it's a very complex game. The mechanics are fairly straightforward once you learn them, but the complexity is taking the time to learn it. I've heard that it has about 30 hours of gameplay if you're just going to cruise through the main story and just kind of focus on main story with a couple of side missions. So that to me suggests that it's worth sitting down and playing through if you like these types of games. So it's on Game Pass if you want to take a look. I do recommend it. 8.5 out of 10 is my rating so far. My early thoughts. Those could change as we get deeper in, but I am going to be doing a full Let's Play series on this game, so make sure to follow along. Those are a combination of streams and offline videos, plus I'm uploading a lot of the missions, or at least the critical missions, as their own complete walkthrough episodes. So make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update, and check the links below for the playlist information, as well as links to our Discord. And if you want to support the channel, just drop a super thanks, or check out the memberships with 5 different tiers and a whole bunch of private member videos available for all of you. Till next time, everybody, stay safe. Happy gaming.